Hello, my name is Sarah Steckler, and I will be conducting a mindfulness eating exercise for you here today. Feel free to use this recording for your own practice, and stay tuned afterwards for some reflections from one of my clients. This exercise is from the mindfulnessdiet.com. The following exercise is simple and should only take a few minutes. So first, make sure that you find a small piece of food, such as one raisin or nut or a small cookie. You can find any food that you like. Eating with mindfulness is not about deprivation or rules. Begin by exploring this little piece of food, using as many of your senses as possible. First, look at the food. Notice its texture, notice its color. Now, close your eyes and explore the food with your sense of touch. What does this food feel like? Is it hard or soft, grainy or sticky, moist or dry? Notice that you're not being asked to think, but just to notice different aspects of your experience, using one sense at a time. This is what it means to eat mindfully. Before you eat, explore this food with your sense of smell. What do you notice? Now begin eating. No matter how small the bite of food you have, take at least 2 bites to finish it. Take your first bite. Please chew very slowly, noticing the actual sensory experience of chewing and tasting. Remember, you don't need to think about your food to experience it. You might want to close your eyes for a moment to focus on the sensations of chewing and tasting before continuing. Notice the texture of the food, the way it feels in your mouth. Notice that the intensity of its flavor changes moment to moment. Take about 20 more seconds to very slowly finish this first bite of food, being aware of the simple sensations of chewing and tasting. It isn't always necessary to eat slowly in order to eat with mindfulness, but it's helpful at first to slow down in order to be as mindful as you can. Now, please take your second and last bite. As before, chew very slowly while paying close attention to the actual sensory experience of eating, the sensations and movements of chewing, the flavor of food as it changes, and the sensations of swallowing. Just pay attention, moment by moment. All right, Kyle. So thank you for taking the time to do the mindfulness eating exercise. I just want to ask you a couple questions about your experience today, if that's okay with you.
Sounds great.
All right. So how was the experience for you with kind of focusing on a food?
Well, it was interesting because I've never, ever focused on food like that before.
Okay.
The food that I ate was a dark chocolate, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a dark chocolate piece of candy with pumpkin seeds in it.
Okay.
And I've always eaten them in the past, and, it's just kind of a, to use a familiar word, kind of a mindless way of going about eating them. You just take them out of the bag and shove them in your mouth. There's no real thought. So this was, like I said, the first time that I had ever taken any amount of time to what amounts to connect with my food.
Okay. How would you say that it was different from just eating something without thinking about it?
I'd say that it was different than eating food without thinking about it, because I think the most noticeable thing, obviously, is I slowed down.
Okay.
In that time, I'd probably eat 6 or 7 pieces of the same size, but I stopped and I, smelled and touched, and I even listened.
How might an exercise like this kind of change how you eat moving forward?
Well, I was, as I kind of alluded to earlier, when I stopped to, for instance, smell the piece of candy, or for lack of a better term, when I stopped to smell that piece of candy, I noticed that I tasted it more. Like the taste was multiplied, sort of. And, it it kind of multiplied the 6 or 7 pieces I ate afterward, too. So I think in the future that this probably won't be something I do all the time, but I think whenever I do think about it, I'm more likely to stop and think about what I'm eating just briefly and just kind of enjoy the moment, get out of my head for a minute and actually connect with my food, I think, and even that 60 seconds or less taught me that. So I think moving forward, that's something I'll probably do occasionally.